Some more analysis on this and bring in Michael Cox, who joins me now live from Washington. He is a senior advisor at the Global Policy Institute. Sean, always good to speak with you. Welcome to the show. Here's the odd thing for me, at least. Donald Trump has come out and urged House Republicans to vote for Kevin McCarthy, so clearly he supports him. But the handful of hardline Republicans who are also Trump supporters are holding out and blocking Kevin McCarthy's speakership.
Well, it is certainly a very interesting time here in Washington to see this play out live and on all the news channels, and all of us talking about this. And as you did point out, former President Trump does support Kevin McCarthy. However, his initial support was quite tepid. It only took a lot of negotiations through intermediaries and then a direct call yesterday for Trump to issue a stronger measure of support for him on his Truth Social media. It seems like this group of holdouts in the Republican Party in Congress, they've been given the name the Taliban 20 or the Chaos Caucus, are trying to out-Trump Trump to appeal to those supporters in their constituencies that like the idea of Donald Trump and want to carry on his mantle. So they're going to draw this out as long as possible to get the most concessions, which ultimately will weaken the Republican Party over the next 2 years.
Sean, just a moment ago, I was talking to John, and I'm sure you listened to him, and he set this up really well. Let me ask you what you think is the more likely scenario, that the party can actually convince these handful of Republicans that don't want Kevin McCarthy still standing out, or the party swings and gets behind a new candidate like Jim Jordan sort of emerged in the later rounds of voting?
I believe eventually McCarthy will get the votes. What he will have to give up to get the votes is the big question. Even this battle just over yesterday and continuing today is going to severely weaken his potential speakership for the next 2 years. There is no other viable candidate within the Republican Party. Even Hakeem Jeffries, the new leader of the Democrats in the House, received more votes than Kevin McCarthy. He had 212 votes yesterday. In theory, in a very wild scenario, only 6 Republicans could defect to the Democratic Party and elect a Democratic leader of the House, although that is wildly unfounded and not, I don't think, reasonable. I think what we can expect is that McCarthy will eventually secure the votes through one mechanism or another, but it will severely hamper his ability to lead the Republican Party and the House over the next 2 years.
That is definitely a very extreme measure, but Washington is not an outsider or a stranger to extreme measures. President Biden has spoken about the impasse in the House. Let's listen to what he had to say, and I'll come back to you in just a bit.
That's not my problem. It's just the embarrassment is taking so long in the way they do with one another. And the rest of the world's looking. They're looking at, we get our act together. And, what I focus on is get things done. And the one thing I'm going down something in Ohio today is demonstrating we can get things done. Passed an enormous bill, bipartisanly, and it works. And we're starting off the first major initiative. We're announcing today it's $1 billion. You can't be the #1 economy in the world unless you're the #1 infrastructure.
I mean, I think it's a fair comment from the commander-in-chief, but let me ask you about the chances that sort of a more moderate candidate is actually put forward. Not necessarily Hakeem Jeffries, who got, you said, 200 plus, but maybe a more Republican candidate, one that can get sort of the Democrats on board about, a completely new candidate in terms of getting the Democrat support.
Well, so far the Democrats have said that they're not going to play ball with an idea like that of having a more moderate Republican. And approaching a strategy that way, we're bringing Democrats on board to find a Republican who is moderate enough to meet their needs and their interests is going to take quite a lot of time. The Republicans are very interested in getting this settled and getting it settled, if not today, then sometime this week, because they need to be able to say that they have coalesced around a leader and that they'll be able to implement the Republican agenda coming forward into this new session. The longer this plays out, the weaker they'll be, and whoever is elected to head the Congress from the Republican side will be seen as basically just a placeholder until the next elections.
If you're a Republican supporter, if you're one that actually voted for the Reds in the midterms, What are you thinking with this chaos, what's going on in the House? Is this hurting their name, the brand, and their chances for 2024?
It is absolutely hurting their name and their brand because there are a lot of key votes coming up about expanding the budget, expanding the debt ceiling, that will make it look like if the Republicans cannot take charge of this, the Democrats are just sitting back and they're laughing about this, and they're watching the Republicans fall flat on their face in the first opportunity they've had in some years to take a leadership role in the country. And it will show that the Republican Party is a house divided, and they will need to get their act together if they have any hopes of expanding the number of seats that they have in Congress in 2024.
Okay, Sean Michael Cox, lovely talking to you. Thanks for joining us here on the NewsHour. I do appreciate your analysis. These are live pictures.